post-apocalyptic stuff, you said, Johan.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's really hard to miss, at least in Sweden now, that for example, we gotten in the mail from our authorities some sort of a pamphlet that says that we should start to prepare for war, basically, or for a catastrophe, and we should buffer up food and water, and maybe have some sort of place where we can make fire from wood. So I think it's on everybody's mind here, more or less. And it's interesting because when we live our everyday life here in Sweden, I think it seems like normal, and what's the threat? So I don't know. Do you feel like we are threatened somehow, or that there's gonna come some catastrophe soon?
For me, I had a natural feeling of having what some call a bug out bag.
Yeah, I think you just can live and survive.
Yeah, a basic survival kit for a couple of days, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I like earlier in life, so I didn't think about that at all. But today, a couple of months ago, or even a year ago, I started prepping and kitting up my personal kind of survival bag, and that's something that you basically take out stuff and you put in new stuff into all the time, having it prepared all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's sometimes you think about new things. For instance, diarrhea pills.
Right.
Is awesome. Like something I didn't think about. Like all those sort of meds, for instance.
Yeah, sure, because you're likely to eat something that doesn't agree with you, and so you're gonna get sick.
Yeah, or even nervous. You have some sort of depression, or perhaps some mood stabilizer and calming pills also. Like,
right.
And then I have like some sort of like first aid kits ideas as well.
Right. Yeah.
And well, I get into more technical stuff of having the bag. In my personal case, I even have gas masks and filters.
Yeah. So it's interesting to hear what's in your bag. So
yeah, but
gas mask, yes, medicines of certain kinds.
Yeah. Gas masks and medicines, and of course food, and like dried preserves, or dried fruits,
Dried fruits,
like light stuff that is easy to carry and easy to pack a lot.
So dried stuff that will keep well for a long time.
Yeah, and oats and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And all those dried stuff, it's very important to have that really wrapped and sealed properly in case of like rain, So,
plastic bags.
Yeah, have everything in plastic bags. Basically, it's great. So you can save your stuff basically. And the bag itself is like waterproof as well. And
it's one of those that you can fold over and.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly, and it's also some sort of it's a combination of like a Navy SEAL bag combined with there's also, I have this idea of using the bag as an almost like an airbag or cushion or something like that, or even
for sleeping.
Yeah, or even in like, let's say you go into deep waters, for instance, so you can just pull a string in your bag, so it becomes this like a little floating almost like a little boat or something.
Yeah, you can hang on to it. And,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you just have to when you close it, just make sure that it's filled with air.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And then let's see. So more stuff that is very important to have is like some sort of tools as well, I feel. And I had this little hatchet as well, a combination of an axe and pickaxe as well, which is great. It's very hard to use an axe properly. It's not for everyone, I would say. So it's much more easier to take a machete,
Right.
instead, because of the swing. But in my personal case, I prefer axe and pickaxe combinations.
The axis, would it be like this, maybe 40,
Yeah.
40 50
Yeah, exactly.
centimeters?
Yeah.
And what is the pick thing for?
Pick thing is, of course, like there's many different.
Because with
things
an
you
axe
can
you would cut wood, I guess.
Yeah, cut wood, of course, the basic stuff, but the pickaxe is more like a all-in-all combination. You can like open things, you can like punch hole into things, you can grab things or like poke things, of course.
Yeah.
It's really good of a defensive weapon as well. Instead of the hatchet side, you have a pickaxe, which is way more like puncturing damage as well.
So
It's like instant killer, like
yeah.
And flare as well.
Oh yeah.
And
Can you order them online, or how do you find?
Yeah, you can. And you can also get self-sufficient radio, so you can like
You wind it up.
yeah, exactly.
You have one of those?
No, that's something that I want to add.
Maybe it's useful if there's catastrophe and still there is information going out.
Yeah, exactly. To hook up into some information networks or perhaps groups that are talking or
we have a lot of food over here, you know.
Yeah, or different different channels, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And X I think is very good to have, because fire is so important when you're.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When you're out.
Yeah, and then a water filtering kit as well, which is really nice to have.
You have that as well?
Nope, that's something that I'm looking into because it's like the easiest thing that I do have is water filtering like tablets and such. But that's I want the whole filtering kit instead.
I think because I know you can, if you boil the water, at least you would kill off any germs and
exactly.
stuff. But still, maybe there's some sort of more, what you call it, minerals or
exactly,
bad things.
Yeah, so just in case, it can be a good idea to have. But as the question was, if I'm worried or if I'm nervous about like catastrophe right now, I would say I'm not. I'm not really into that right now. I have been, because this informational paper and everything like that dipped down in our like mail, you know.
Yeah.
So I was being more aware of it, you know. But I even started prepping before this, so it's like maybe I felt something natural, like some sort of uneasy feeling of catastrophe going on, and I do get quite like affected as well, because like looking around the world these days as well, like there are many chaotic scenarios, like natural disasters, you know, which is way more possible as the years get older, you know.
Sooner or later there's gonna be some sort of disaster.
Yeah, exactly.
Natural or man-made, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Man-made or natural, it depends. I would much more prefer a natural disaster instead of a man-made one, because a man-made one would be a high percentage of chemical waste and bad things, really bad things, you know. Natural disaster is really scary as well, but it's not as not as bad consequences as a man-made one, I feel.
Yeah, like a nuclear war or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I have the gas masks as well. But yeah.
Yeah, well, it is. I watch the news quite often on the Swedish, what do you call it, national news. And every other day they mention that we have to watch out. Russia is interested in us, and you know, the security threat in our area is rising, and they are spending more money on the military, and you know, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's there's definitely tensions, but
do you feel the tensions in the air, or like intuitively know something?
no, I
feel-
don't. No, I just feel like it's that's what's so weird about it to watch the news, because it's such a discrepancy between the news and my feeling of my everyday life.
Yeah.
I don't feel any threat. You know, it's more like when they talk so much about it on the news, and it feels almost like they're trying to build up some sort of mood to make this happen. Right?
Yeah. That's something that what usually paranoia and fear naturally pulls, is that you pull the fear towards you instead. So I truly believe that it is possible to channel bad energy, or not necessarily bad energy. It's more like some sort of a both paranoia and fear, let's say, and having that and talking about it all the time, or even like having some sort of small proof even, can snowball the effect quite large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But well, I think for me this possibility of catastrophe, it's both scary and somehow appealing as well, because you know, it's maybe I felt more like this before than I do now, but then I felt like this needs to be a big change. You know, something has to happen, and
Yeah, exactly.
and
Yeah.
maybe it's not so bad if the society collapses, and
Yeah.
you know, we'll see what's what in life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's very double feeling, but what's really scary is how fragile our society is, and you know, it's very good like you have prepared yourself. I think many people, the people in these big cities especially, they're gonna be just fucked, you know, if something happens.
Yep. That's another thing why I like to live on the countryside.
Yeah.
More likely. It's much more higher percentage of survival. First things first, because farmers, we have the lands, we have the food.
Yeah.
The big cities, the food delivery will just stop after a while, and it's gonna be batshit crazy, and they will eat each other after a while.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be nasty, especially the larger cities.
Yeah, and I think many people who live in the city, they are very successful now in the current system, and very sort of arrogant, you know, and they're just gonna, they have really bad personality traits, some of them.
Yeah.
So they're just gonna be like, me first.
Yeah. Me first, die first.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's happened.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
So you don't want to be in Stockholm, for example.
Yeah. Because, like, truth be told, like, if they want to be first all the time, like, well, go ahead and die first as well. Like,
maybe.
That's something natural that will happen. Like, I've seen that so many times. So it's quite interesting how it works. But, like, as you said, like, they're quite successful in this current system that we have, like the more materialistic system we're talking about here, and how it will turn out. Like, it's like a flip of a coin almost.
Where everything is based on money, and that you can buy your way into everything. And I mean, if there's a collapse, then you won't be able to use money in that way, I suppose.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So I think it's like living in the countryside is good, and also to have a sense of community and to help each other.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. In a way, it's. I think it's like good. Like both you and me, I think do now. We live in the area where we've grown up, and our families have sort of deep roots here. And
Yeah.
if there's gonna be something bad going on, it's more likely that people would help each other. I think.
Yeah.
If you haven't totally alienated everyone.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's good.
Yeah. So what more things are we going to talk about today, Johan, when it comes to apocalyptic stuff or chaotic stuff?
I could suggest to talk about. I've been reading 2 books now from Graham Hancock.
Yeah.
Who is sort of alternative historian, you could call him, maybe. Like he has this theory that there's been catastrophic events in our history, and really high civilizations have existed and been almost wiped out, but they have managed still to bring their knowledge to new people, hunter-gatherers, and again they build up this great civilization.
Yeah.
And of course there's the theme of apocalypse, and it seems usually it's comets or asteroids or meteors, some celestial bodies coming down, hitting the earth, and sort of make a total havoc on the earth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, for example, there is this part that there was the last ice age was around 10,000 years ago, or maybe 12.
Yeah.
Or even further, but like there was 1,000 years where its climate got warmer, and then it got really cold for thousands of years.
Okay.
And then it started warming again.
Yeah.
So the theory is that there was a couple of impacts on the Earth that really messed things up. So, this could happen again, of course.
It's quite the possibility.
Yeah.
And it seems like nature and the way we live as well has always gone through different phases of existence. And even though we might get to a greater or even like higher civilization like this, like what we have today, I feel it's quite possible that everything can just be wiped out quite fast, in the blink of an eye almost. So it's interesting, yeah. But the book, you told me about the book earlier, and a couple of times now. I haven't read it myself, and you haven't read everything.
No. I read one book that's called Fingerprints of the Gods.
Yeah.
And the sequel to that one is Magicians of the Gods, which I'm currently reading.
Okay, yeah, I see. And you said that the world has gone through different phases from having that sort of a minor stage into a more higher stage of civilization. And then you talked about natural disasters happening, which basically sends us back to the Stone Age, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, it seems like if you look at Egypt, for example,
yeah,
the best, the most highly sophisticated stuff they produced in Egypt, it comes from the beginning of that civilization, and then you see a gradual decline in their culture. So finally, it's not so impressive what they could build. So that's really weird, because you would expect to be the other way around. Like the historians, the mainstream historians, they think that sort of we were hunter-gatherers first, and then we gradually evolved to be more and more sophisticated. and now our current civilization is like the crown jewel of knowledge, like we are the best.
Yeah.
But I'm not so sure, you know. Like for sure, I think like the ancient Egyptians, they were really, they had more like spiritual knowledge on a completely different level than ours. So we're really into the materialistic side, and sure we are pretty advanced, you know, technologically, but spiritually we're just babies basically.
Yeah.
Our civilization.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and for Egypt, there's like also there you can Graham Hancock has this theory that there was a transfer of knowledge to the Egyptians, because it's so weird, because Egypt just sprang out from nowhere, you know, like. If they were hunter-gatherers first, you would expect them to try out things and learn things gradually and slowly. But they say in a couple of 100 years, there they were, like these huge pyramids that they built and stuff like that. So yeah, I like this approach that Hancock has, because it brings back the mystery in the world, and like that there still are mysteries and still are things that we don't understand, and you know, yeah.
Do you think that there is this possibility that the Egyptians were even thought about how to build the pyramids from other beings even?
Beings like you know, like aliens maybe.
Oh yeah, some sort of extraterrestrial life, perhaps, or even like that. Because as you said, like we have no traces of Egyptians gradually learning how to build pyramids, right? There's no small examples or small models left for us to see.
This is true, yeah.
Because yeah, the interesting thing here is that it sprung out quite fast, as you said.
Sure, yeah. And I think it's in many places in the world this is sort of the case. Like in South America, you have these ancient Indian tribes, like the Mayas and the Incas and Osmecs, I think. So I don't remember all the names, but they also seem to have sprung out from nowhere basically, and yeah, this alien theory is around, and I'm not sure. Hancock is not so convinced. He thinks more like there were high civilizations, and then a comet strike, and they had to start again. You know.
Do you think that the civilizations, or even some people, were born with these sort of visions and dreams, perhaps, or almost like a blueprint in their minds and hearts to build something like that or achieve something like that, and they achieve it quite fast?
Like some genius were born and could like tell the people around him or her to just build these amazing things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it could be maybe.
Yeah.
If you believe in some sort of reincarnation, it's I think that could be for sure. Like the genius would be transferred along.
Yeah. Basically, you're a personality type, INTJs, the masterminds.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's very difficult to explain. Like some children are extremely talented, like when they're really small. I mostly think about music, you know, music wonder childs, but maybe there are other examples in other disciplines as well.
Yeah, that's what I actually believe that there is, because if you have some sort of this little mastermind that wants to build or help the world, let's say, or whatever. What do I know? Even destroy the world, like whatever it might be. First and foremost, that little child do not have the materials for it, the materialistic side. It has the more perhaps spiritual heightened sense and the knowledge, the blueprints, the feelings, the know-how, you know. But it just needs that little materialistic help to achieve that. So that's why I think the Egyptians were
maybe the technical side.
Yeah, the technical side also perhaps, or like.
What do you mean by materialistic?
Materialistic to have the resources to be able to build such things.
Yeah, like the material,
like,
the stones and the metals.
We need that much metal, for instance, or that much stones. Yeah, exactly. And they do not own it themselves, perhaps, but they're able to convince society to do this. You know.
But in that scenario, then you can't just have a child who's very talented, because then you need also the surrounding society to be able to help out materialistically.
Yeah, exactly as I said, to get that person to be able to or convince or even have the society to support that person to be able to achieve that together. And that would actually explain pretty good what happened with the Egyptians as well, perhaps. That there is this case of this different purposeful people that want to achieve or perhaps write down knowledge on tablets or such things, but they do not have the pen, they do not have the paper, you know, or but they are being given that, you know, as a gift perhaps, or even like that, you know. So I think it's quite possible how many personality types work together, and I think those have existed like long before time, like our own like humanity sort of blueprint almost.
The personality types.
Yeah, inside ourselves, you know, and how we work together, you know. But yeah.
I think about Elon Musk, when you said about this, when you talked about this sort of wonder child with a vision, because that fits him pretty good.
Yeah.
I read his biography, and as a small child in South Africa, he was already thinking about how can I save the humanity, and how can I go to Mars, and
yeah, exactly,
space travel, and he's been pushing that ever since.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I see some sort of feeling of that in one of my little sisters as well, because when she was really like just a couple of years, she started building her own spaceship, and she had her own astronaut outfit, you know. And that was really cool to witness, you know. She built everything herself, you know, and she wanted to become like this hyped up female engineer space freak type, like
yeah,
that.
so maybe not necessarily an astronaut, but more like an engineering
exactly
type.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
so space age children is already here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it, but it's double for me, because I think if we go too much into this colonizing space, maybe we will just shit on this planet. You know, it's we should preserve nature
exactly.
as well.
That's something that I've been talking about, like the earlier podcast as well. Like, if we can't like take care of Mother Earth, we will certainly not be able to care for the moon or Mars.
Yeah, we'll mess it up as well.
Yeah, we'll just mess it up. Yeah. So, but I have this higher thinking as well, that the Mars people, like the space age children here, is just going to say basically screw Earth. We build our own society on Mars, and it's going to be much better. and it's going to be better because they basically turned their backs on planet Earth, and they show Earth how good society can be built.
Yeah, that's interesting approach. Maybe it could work like that. Yeah, sort of example for the Earth. This is how it can be done.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a natural sort of evolvement into that earlier, like in the future, because you can't deny the fact of having a mother and a father, and that's something that's going to happen with Earth and Mars, because Mars is going to be that sort of wonder child in the future, I see, because they turned their backs on like Earth, and they're basically disappointed, at Earth, and they create this cool new society on Mars instead. It's like Mars people is going to say, like, we didn't want to become as our fathers or mothers, like screwing up Earth, So they came up with all these cool new inventions, like beautiful growing techniques, perhaps, or getting to preserve life on Mars instead. Yeah.
It's also everything on Mars is going to have to be man-made, so it's the nature will be completely different. And maybe it's easier to value something that you build yourself from the ground, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but.
Or it can just be made out of plastic. Just
how do you mean?
Mars is going to be like planet Earth's big dumpster.
A lot of like, McDonald's waste and things.
Just shit basically, because like the space kids became even worse. So they just
if you look at kids nowadays, shit.
So they started they built their spaceships, but they made Mars a whole new raving station in space instead, and just throwing plastic cans or like stuff, aluminum cans all over the place, and just trashing the place,
Yeah, who knows?
It's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm not so keen on going at least, but
yeah, same. But all these, what I was talking about is all these things I see as a possibility from this post-apocalyptic perspective, like during disasters, or even before a disaster is going to happen, some people just go out to space, maybe.
This is an escape route for sure. I mean, and most likely it will be the rich going first. If still the monetary system is running like it doing now. So.
Yeah. However, it's this great possibility that the rich ones will basically is like, for the most, like how things have worked in the last. The rich ones get like shot down because revolution, revolt, and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I can just see that the rich ones is going to pay for the spaceships, but the poor ones is going to hijack it.
It's a sort of space revolution.
Space revolution. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, just when it's finished, the poorer people take over.
I can see like the whole space is going to happen, and the disasters is going to come, and perhaps these rich people or like governors or everything like that stands there and just telling the people like, we have prioritized these and these kind of people, because this and this and this, and all these people just saying screw that and just hijack and just leave, like.
Yeah. Could be a scenario, yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
But
would you go to space in case of a huge natural disaster? Like.
Well, right now I don't feel like going, but if things get really bad here, it's maybe I'll change my mind.
Okay.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's also very you have to be really brave to go be the first. I mean. A lot of things can go wrong, and
exactly.
You just blow up, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. Yep.
But then when they have established some sort of traffic, it's more like just taking a car or a bus,
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Some companies are talking about like, or even planning building like the greatest space elevator, you know, and I think that's a stupid idea.
Yeah. It's like a mechanical thing going up.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. Yeah.
Seems not so good, yeah.
No, it seems really dodgy. Yep.
Yeah. But these Egyptians, if we go back, you know, it's very inspiring, I think, to see a society that is like their core value is spiritual, and I'm not sure about the power relations in Egypt, but I suppose like the pharaohs, they were sort of like kings, but they were wise kings, like they
What do you mean with the wise kings?
like they were their ego was not in the way. They were spiritually enlightened,
Yeah.
and that their highest mission was to make a good society, and to bring this deep knowledge, pass it down, and if you compare our society with theirs, then we are more driven by greed and materialistic longings to build up wealth for ourselves and our closest, and Sweden, of course, is one of the most secular countries in the world, so we don't believe in anything but science and money. So so that's what I like going to India sometimes, because India, I feel, is still very spiritual, and you're basically the weird one if you say that you don't believe in God. People just shake their heads like, what's up with you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So they know what's what. Yeah.
Imagine during these natural disasters or catastrophes that the Egyptians, the wise ones, and perhaps Indian people, like the wise ones and everything like that, would go into the space era.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine having high space technology built from Egyptians. How that would look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the stage we need to go to first, as we discussed, to be worthy of colonizing space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if I see some civilizations that would have been worthy, is I feel like that would be the Egyptians and those cool civilizations. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, they must have had some really spectacular technology, because all of these high cultures all over the world, their hallmark is that, like, they use megaliths, these huge stones that could weigh like sometimes over 100 tons. You know, they're immense, and often they are cut and put together like so tightly that you can't even get a sheet of paper in between the stones, sort of.
Wow.
So and how do they move these rocks? You know, it's we can barely do it today with our modern technology.
Yeah.
Often. And
I think they must have had some advanced laser technology.
yeah, who knows? You know, it's laser, and I like to think maybe there's some sort of telepathic or telekinetic things.
Ooh, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm very open to this idea. You know, like that they can manipulate matter with their minds or something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Because I read a lot about, like, for example, Indian saints and holy people.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of stories, you know, that that's miraculous. Like they can do all sorts of things that defies logic and matter. And
Yeah.
you know, who knows? Maybe this is a possibility if you're pure enough. You know, if you're spiritual enough.
I do see different species in the world that can metamorph into something else, you know, or transform and manipulate matter, you know. So it's very possible to have that sort of energy or power. Let's say power. It's more easier to understand, I feel, but in my case, I don't see it as some sort of a superpower to have. It's more like a natural evolving thing, you know, that perhaps clairvoyance or telekinesis and all those things are just within everybody to some degree, but can be unlocked, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
And often these holy people, they speak of these gifts as it's not me doing it. It's all done by God. You know? So as soon as you start saying like I'm so great and I can lift this huge rock with my mind, you know, then you're screwed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you have to transcend your ego in a way. Yeah. Because if you look at the pyramids, inside the pyramids there are many rooms, like in the big Khafre pyramid, the biggest one. There are the king's and the queen's chamber, and if you look at how they have aligned the rocks, these huge multiple ton rocks, and it seems like we can't even understand how they did it in these small confined spaces. So what it seems rather reasonable to think that there was some sort of Charles Xavier sitting and just moving the rocks with his mind, you know. Because then you don't need like 100 people pulling strings and levers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really need to go to Egypt. You know, it's you have to see it. They say in these books that if you spend like 2 weeks in Egypt with the pyramids, and it will change your whole being, sort of. It's so impressive.
Yeah. I think we should travel to Egypt as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can have a podcast in the King's Chamber, for example.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
If I don't think it's going to be allowed to record or.
Yeah, maybe if we can pay some money.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Money talks.
Yeah, that's the way it works. The Graham Hancock, he writes that always you have to bribe people to
yeah, exactly.
to get access.
Yep.
Yeah, for better or worse.
Yeah.
Also, the funny thing in the King's Chamber in the pyramids, it's sort of built acoustically with some sort of chambers. So you can't, like, if you talk too fast inside this room, then your voice will be totally distorted and no one will hear what you're saying.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
But if you talk slowly and in a certain way, then it works.
Nice.
And also, if there's like a pit in the 12 stories down in the pyramid.
Yeah.
And if you're standing in this pit and there are people talking in the king's chamber, the people in the pit can hear you. I mean, like the people in the pit can hear the people in the king's chamber. And it's like a 12-story building of just solid rock, so it should be totally impossible. So there's some sort of acoustic thing going on, which is very, very weird there.
Oh, interesting.
So there are like a lot of mysteries in the pyramids you can go into.
What more did you find in this book? Because now it's getting really interesting here.
Yeah. Well,
Are they only talking about the Egyptian side of things in Egypt?
no, there are a few places around the world that he focuses on, and well, if we should connect it to ourselves, so we have this Norse mythology here in Scandinavia, and like with Thor and Odin and these gods,
Yeah.
and the tree of life, which is called Yggdrasil.
Yeah.
And Hancock shows that these myths of these Norse gods, they're sort of there's a lot to them, you know. They speak about ancient wisdom and astrological, or is it astronomical? I always mix those two up, but whatever. Sort of knowledge of the stars.
Yeah.
And also about these catastrophic events with maybe comets, because you have the story about these gods. They had a wolf running around being very dangerous called what was his name? Do you remember?
The wolf
The
Fenris.
Fenris wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So they chained this wolf very tightly somewhere, put him away, and also there was this sort of snake, the Midgårdsormen in Swedish.
Yeah. And English usually call like the Nidarus worm.
Nidarus worm, yeah, like a worm. It's
Yeah,
a worm
or
that's
Nidarus-
going around the whole earth. but-
Nidarus snake. Even. Yeah.
I think they say the worm, but that's really funny.
The serpent also, I feel.
Nidarus serpent.
Yeah, or the world serpent even.
Yeah. Nidaros for sure, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a place in Norway called Nidaros something.
Yeah.
Anyway, this worm or snake was also very dangerous, so they had to chain it at the bottom of the ocean, right?
Yeah.
But then there was Ragnarök, and that's the big catastrophe in this mythology.
Yeah.
Do you also know in English?
It's the same basically.
Ragnarök.
Yeah, or Ragnarok, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And and this happened because the wolf it got free from the chains, and also did this snake.
Yeah.
And the whole world collapsed. You know, the stars fell from the sky, and there was fire and flooding and everything, just going really bad. and Hancock takes this to illustrate this comet impact, which is said to happen more than 10,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this seems very reasonable, because, you know, if you lived in this period of time and you witnessed this catastrophe, it would put so strong marks in you that you could never forget it, and you have to tell people and to warn them and to make this knowledge live on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's that. You know, it's so fascinating to me, because maybe I haven't been so interested in the Norse mythology before, but when you get this sort of new knowledge, it really lifts your interests, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you context.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you said that these stories basically mirror reality, but they are always spoken in metaphors.
That's true. Yes. And yeah, it's a matter of translating the metaphors and.
Exactly.
Yeah. So before, maybe for me, I saw them more like fairy tales or some sort of yeah, I don't know. I think living in a secular world like we do, then it's really a leap of the mind to start thinking in a spiritual way and to appreciate these old stories.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You mean most people? Like.
Yeah, for most people.
Yeah. Yeah. Not in our cases though, but.
No.
Yeah.
No. Well, for me, I have needed these keys, to unlock. I mean, I feel I always have been interested in spiritual side.
Yeah.
But in Sweden we have Christianity as our main religion, and I've been like pushing on it sometimes, feeling it out, but it's never spoken to me really.
No, yeah, exactly.
And then like when I was 20, I was happy to find Zen Buddhists in Sweden, and
Yeah.
So I sought them out, and then I started reading about Asian religion more,
Yeah.
And that has been speaking to me more.
Yeah.
In an understandable way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why people like Hancock and others are very important, because they can provide keys to understand other traditions and yeah, I don't know, expand your knowledge about things.
Yeah, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I think it's time for a break.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll continue. So we had a little break here, and we have some tea and some good
chocolate balls, maybe.
chocolate balls.
For lack of better word.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there are better
chocolate
words.
rain. Yeah. So I was reading through the book of The Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock here, and I came into realizing many things because of basically before I've been reading about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and a bit of Gilgamesh as well.
And Thoth was one of the pharaohs in Egypt, right?
Okay, yeah.
And Gilgamesh, some sort of, which said he was a poet, and
yeah, I felt that Gilgamesh was that era's kind of poet.
Because he was some sort of he lived in very long time ago in, I don't know, Mesopotamia or something.
Yeah, a philosopher as well.
Philosopher, yeah.
But also having his daily hard routine work, it seems like he was on the extinct, like his soul was, or let's say the spiritual side was almost dying in himself, because he had to write down this wisdom on the tablets or the papers, or save his knowledge somehow.
Yeah.
And even during that time, it seems like the mainstream society didn't want to listen,
Right, that's true. There's a lot of stories in ancient text about God sent his wrath to the people because they lost their ways. They won't listen to the wise men and
exactly
women, and it's a common theme. Also in the Bible, like when God sends the flood, Noah built the ark, and so he's the only one surviving, basically.
Yeah. And I noticed like everything from one of my childhood friends as well. He was more of a mathematical genius. He was really cool, and he taught me a lot about the numbers of pi.
Right.
That's something that came back to me regarding mathematical harmony and balance as well. Like, even though I suck at math myself, or I'm much more into physics and quantum physics these days, like really weird angles and stuff. But in that case, back in the days, I didn't find use of math. I didn't understand it, but now I do on a more spiritual level.
Sure,
let's say.
yeah. That's where you also need some sort of thing that pulls you in and gets
Yeah,
your interest.
exactly. Yeah, it really got me hooked because of how they built the temples and the pyramids in perfect harmony.
Yeah, a lot of stuff, that stuff in the pyramids,
Yeah, and the temples wasn't built as the pyramids because they were much more, as you say, like lower.
Sure, yeah. They were sort of more like a square shape.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. The thing is, like in the illustration, you have the pyramid as a triangle, and this is some sort of illusion. It creates a depth of illusion if you put a triangle and a square within a triangle. This is like illustrating or artist kind of idea because you create a road, you pave a road into the picture. And that's something that happened there in this illustration as well that I found in the book. They were talking about building in harmony and building for life and building for the temples. And the great thing here in this illustration was that it basically created a perfect harmony of a building. And they were using pi as well, the mathematical number.
Sure. It's a number that is crucial to the circle, right?
Indeed, yeah. So basically created a illusion for the eyes, but what I saw was also a road ahead.
Sure, like
oh yeah, we have the temple here for instance.
Mhm.
And if you put a triangle in that, you narrow down a road.
like the top is like where the road disappears in the distance, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, and they also like the whole harmony of balancing it. It's because you can't build too high, and you can't build too low either. So you have to build like in perfect harmony in order to have a sustainable building, for instance, or in this case, a more spiritual aligned with the frequencies and everything like that. Because if you walk this road, you narrow down a thought, you narrow down a feeling, you narrow down some sort of a dream, for instance.
Right.
It's in this perfect harmonic state I felt when I was looking at that picture.
Like when you get to the top, you have been enlightened, or you have been reached the center of something.
Thank you. Reaching the center, reaching the core, because it's in the core of the pyramid. It's because like behind, like the top of the pyramid, it's in the distance. It's already gone. Like so, if you look too far, you will certainly walk into a lamp post, you know, because like you look too far, you know.
Yeah.
And if you look too far back, you know, you're not even there either. You're not here. You're not mindful. You're not present.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So like all these things coming together at the core. Like even let's put into context like the core of a problem, for instance. This is the same way of narrowing down what is the problem here. Like how do we solve it? Like getting to the core of things as well.
The pyramid is a strong image of problem solving, basically, or
problem solving everything in life, basically. It's really cool how that works.
And that pyramid is from South America, I think. So that's also interesting that the pyramid shape pop up in so many civilizations.
Yeah, in different cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were talking about the pyramid of the sun, the moon.
Sure, yeah.
Everything of the celestial bodies, you know. And they were mirroring the celestial bodies, let's say, for a crescent moon or the shadow of the sun and everything like that.
Yeah, the astronomical bodies is such of very big importance.
Yeah, yeah. Like all these lines and all these blueprints feels so natural. Exactly, like the Sphinx temple, let's say here. Like this is a processor.
It looks like that, yeah.
it's
It's like
it's the backside of a processor.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
It's like having some sort of like a harmonical building state of memory spots, and yeah, it's really interesting how it works. I feel like all these things are not considered perhaps knowledge or technology. It's more if we have that spiritual side, if we mirror as much as we have gotten in materialistic life, this is the spiritual counterpart of building.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's you can compare those two. Like
yeah, exactly. I can see where the materialistic stops, and the peak of that. It's like, ugh, it's okay, but it works. It's like oily. You have these radioactive nuclear wastes and everything like that. You have electricity to some extent, but not the pure way of electricity, right? But having the spiritual counterpart of building these things would be much more efficient and much more sophisticated in many ways, more intuitive. However, those things would be way more expensive, I feel, to build.
the spiritual more inclined.
Yeah, I think. But maybe not, actually, because maybe it can become more so efficient, so it becomes like even economical sufficient as well. I think most of the things is, as I see in many pictures here, is community and building things together and having that sort of like trust and gathering between people is the key to achieving a more balanced, harmonic society overall, I feel.
Sure. I mean, they were probably not as individualistic back in those days, like when they built the pyramids of Egypt or somewhere else. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And very stable societies, probably, right?
Yeah. It's so interesting.
Yeah. About pi, also, I read somewhere that like the big Egypt pyramid, it's an image of the Earth's like circumference, I think you call it. So so the proportions of the pyramid is like half. Like if you have the half of the sphere of Earth, then you can fit the pyramid exactly in there. You sort of. Sorry. So that must mean that the Egyptians somehow they managed to figure out how big the Earth was, like for whatever 4,500 years ago, maybe.
Exactly.
That's so impressive, yeah.
Yep.
We just recently figured that out, I think, our civilization.
Yeah. That means that if you put a pyramid on top of another pyramid, but you turn it upside down, you have this sort of a time glass.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of picture. And I've seen that many times over. But I've also seen the opposite of having a pyramid flipped and the other side. So you have like this diamond shape.
Sure,
instead.
yeah.
Like both those things can be chained up pretty well.
Maybe there are different symbols for different things.
Yeah, and it creates another meaning of depth a picture of the whole, as you said, because if you only have one pyramid, you only have the half.
Yeah.
So, which means that the pyramid is somewhat a picture of the materialistic side of Earth, the half side.
Maybe so.
It stands there on the sand, you know.
Yeah.
It's already there, you know. It's materialistic. It's like the half thing. But the spiritual side must be seen, flipped, and heightened, you know.
Yeah, that's a thought, yeah. Like, you don't see it, but it's there.
Illusion, yeah. Metaphors, illusion. And the thing is, for like the intuitive child, perhaps they play around with this structure, you know. And they only that, to create a play of a pyramid, creates this sort of ancient knowledge without even knowing it, you know, because it fits into the world with pi and everything, you know.
Yeah.
When I was little, I was given a handmade pyramid from one of my cousin's fathers. It was he was a woodmaker, actually, and he created all these beautiful wood artful stuff, and he shaped many great things, and he gave me a pyramid of mahogany, or like dark cherry wood almost. Really beautiful pyramid, and the top of the pyramid was a small pyramid in gold. So it was like a pyramid, and then it was a pyramid within a pyramid.
So the top was made of gold, you could say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I believe that is true. Like, if you're a child and you would play with something like that, a pyramid, and you would intuitively get a sense of the wisdom in this structure.
Yeah, without even like, for me, like realizing it to that level of depth. But when I read through everything, it feels natural to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. It's I believe the same with the Egyptian temples and maybe the pyramids as well. Well, let's say the temples, if you go in there, they are supposedly built sort of to speak to you, to deliver this knowledge.
Yeah, it definitely speaks to me in many ways, because, like, as I mentioned with Thoth as well, the emerald tablets and everything like that, ancient wisdom that is basically lost. And you said it's like this little red thread through life where the wise men and women of the world is not being listened to, you know?
Yeah.
Perhaps we are destined to sit here, like, perhaps poor even, or whatever, you know, but we have this immense worth of knowledge, you know, that we have to get out, you know, to the people, or people just like us, because it's the only ones who understand, you know.
We have to make some stone tablets or something.
Yeah. So we have to pass this knowledge on, basically. Yeah.
That's also an interesting topic, like how, if you have a lot, something you want to keep for eternity.
Yeah.
How do you preserve it?
Exactly.
And when you cut it in stone, it's pretty good. If it's a
it's pretty good. Yeah, they're still standing today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Depending on how hard, of course. I mean, sandstone, I think, is pretty soft.
Yeah.
But there are other kinds that are so really tough, you know, that doesn't get affected by anything, basically.
Like pure titanium and like super expensive metals.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Even metals, you could.
Yeah.
You could cast the metal plate or something.
Yeah.
And even these three pyramids in Egypt, they are they say in the book it's aligned with Orion's belt, Orion, the celestial, what do you call it? Like a figure.
Yeah.
In the sky.
Yeah, and also the sun.
Yeah, on
the
sun.
moon, everything like that. Yeah.
It's aligned astronomically
Yeah.
to a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so that's one way of sending a message to later generations. Like,
Yeah.
you see here these pyramids, they have been standing forever, and they're aligned with these stars and everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, you don't lose that very easily.
Yeah. And I was talking about Thoth earlier, and you said that it goes hand in hand, like with Indian as well. India, you said something about
Like
India.
with the Hindus of
Oh,
India, yeah. Right. They have also like a very long wisdom tradition. And,
Yeah.
there's this idea that there was 7 sages that brought the wisdom to India.
Okay.
The same as I think in these cultures, Mesopotamia and Sumer and these other old traditions, there are also 7 sages. So it's something that shows up in different parts.
Yeah. And when we were like when we ate earlier, I was talking about a certain Chinese dish that you made.
Yeah.
What was it called?
Mapo tofu.
Mapo tofu. Yeah. And I was intuitively thinking of Machu Picchu.
Yes.
And I turned up the book and I saw Machu Picchu.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
It's all synchronicity.
Yeah, it's so fun when it happens, you know. And it says here that this remote site is also astronomically aligned, which indicate that it may be many thousands of years old than the Inca civilization even.
Yeah.
And maybe that it was merely occupied and used by them.
Right.
So it can even be older.
Even older, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing, you know. It's very hard to carbon date stones. It's so oftentimes people, they just guess. They don't know really how old the place is.
Yeah. It's really interesting because, like, naturally, if some birds have built this awesome house or like a place to live, other birds afterwards takes over.
Sure, yeah. They build on the previous nest.
Yeah. And we humans do it all the time as well. You know, we gain from heritage, you know.
This is true. I mean, our churches are often built on the Norse, like, what do you call it? Asarna in English. You say the Norse gods, maybe.
Yeah, the Norse gods, yeah.
The places where they did their sacrifices or cult things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and this is what I meant with the materialistic and spiritual side. You know, having the pyramid here and a switched pyramid on the other side, which is the spiritual, the heavenly or universal sort of wisdom alignment. So it's this time glass sort of a
I can
construction.
see.
Yeah,
It's a good symbol.
but it's something. It is meant to be not seen.
The spiritual is not seen.
Yeah, it is meant to be that way, and you notice if you talk with a person who aren't unable to see that side, then you know it's like, okay, it's more of a materialistic, objectical person, you know.
They wouldn't have any. They're not open to talking about the spiritual thing.
No, then you have the people you love talking about, you know, the skeptics, you know.
Oh, I just hate skeptics. I get so annoyed when they show up.
Yeah.
So there's a podcast with Joe Rogan, and he has Graham Hancock and this guy called Randall Carlson. And, and these 3 guys are amazing, and then for some reason I invited a skeptic to this circle, and And he just sits there and shits on everything they say. Like, no. It can't be that way.
Yeah.
Because science says it's like this. Narrow-minded, like.
Yeah.
And even if they have proof, he won't listen, because
Yeah.
it contradicts his vision of the world.
Yeah, it contradicts his own rationality.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And rationality can only go so far, as the materialistic. What he has seen, what he has heard, what basically he does not know, but what he have been taught.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a whole other different thing,
Yeah.
So that's something that when I notice like skeptics or people that are unable to travel with their mind as hypothesis or even thinking it. Of course, like if I have hypothesis and things like this may be true, of course I don't feel like it must be true. It's a possibility.
Yes. It's worth looking into.
Yeah, it's really worth looking into. And people that are unable to do that, it's really grinds my gears also.
Yeah, because there's so many interesting things in the world you can talk about, and the skeptics, they are so narrow-minded, and so the thought never takes flight. They just like to keep down in the dirt and dust and to crawl around in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I suppose they have their function as well, but I'm not sure what it is. But
yeah, but it's so sad, when you hear a skeptical person or like, let's say a really objective person or materialistic person talking about like what is true to them or what how they define certain things, let's say love, let's take love for instance. Like they go into greed, they go into wanting things, not about sharing things, or like some people talk about love as they are there to change another person, or it's not so much about acceptance.
Right, interesting.
It's very much the ego talking,
Yeah.
And I feel like as soon as I hear people talking like that, I know I can close off my spiritual side to them,
right,
and save that energy, or I can use my rage and smash in some spirituality into them to wake them up, Is there some sort of calling like a spiritual bitch slap?
Sure, yeah. I think. Yeah, I think you can have that.
Yeah. I would like to have that as a superpower. A spiritual bitch slap. And they see like the universe and everything. Like
yeah. They have that in Zen Buddhism. It's famous. It's true.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's like you would have a meeting with a teacher very much like we're sitting now. And, we're sitting on the floor with these cushions cross-legged.
Yeah.
And let's say that you're the teacher and I come in like the student. I bow to you and sit down, and then you see that I'm so full of myself, a lot of ego, and because you are already enlightened, you can give me a slap in the face, like you see this will help him. And there's a lot of stories saying that the teacher timed this perfectly and the student was enlightened.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So cool. Yeah, maybe it works.
Yeah, it's also because it's so unexpected thing, to get slapped in the face, and in this spiritual setting.
Yeah, it's not natural at all.
It just jerks you out of yourself.
Yeah,
sort of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's also stories about Zen teachers that would scream really loudly, like just sitting there and screaming at the student, and just get shocked.
Yeah, I noticed that because we have this one child in school. He's really in tune with the timing,
right,
and everything like that. He's very spiritual. He's more like he's been mentioned. He has been having meetings with different mediums,
Oh, you mean like spiritual mediums?
Yeah, exactly. Oh. Yeah, and this guy has been like more, let's say, certified as a little growing up medium right now. And it's
This kid is a medium himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so there's many mediums have been telling him or telling like us in school as well, like this is some sort of special child, so we don't like respect that side, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I naturally feel in tune with him, you know, because he's usually down to earth and really sad, you know, or depressed, you know. Is really in touch with his feelings, you know, the introverted feeling aspects of life, and I can really connect with that. But when he gets into a loop of other people that does not compute with him whatsoever, he starts screaming or shouting or like almost as that spiritual bitch slap to wake some sort of spiritual side of people, you know.
Ah, really? Yeah. Maybe he's so provoked by their inability to be spiritual.
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly what happens, Johan, because he gets provoked, but he also uses that provocative energy to provoke others. So so it's like this circle. It's interesting how it works. But...
Yeah, this is very interesting. You know, like a medium that's a child really, and accepted sort of in the context of where you work.
Yeah.
Even the teachers, they sort of accept this.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
So it's like, even though it's like with deep suicidal tendencies and like...
It's a troubled child, huh?
Yeah. But I think it's for the best, you know? It's going through the hard times now because like it's going to be great in the future, you know? Like have gone through the shadow sides as a kid, you know? Yeah. Instead of having them when you're 80 or 90.
What would he be depressed by sort of the situation of being in the school and hanging out with his other kids, or is it more like inside him that you think that it's come from within, or this depression?
It's definitely connected to this missing father role as well.
Right.
Yeah. But also a searching child as well. Connected with like it's both the inner side growing, something is there growing, I can feel it, but also the outside influences of having constant pressure, you know, of like stressing school and too many people. A very introverted child as well, so he wants to walk out of class, you know, and sit in his own corner, hide away from class. And sometimes he's really engaged with small groups and trigger certain loops or rings on the water, you can say. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting, you know. But I think he really, like, sometimes during some classes he told me what we were going to have in class without me telling him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You could see in the future.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just figured it out somehow, you know?
Yeah, maybe. But that's a cool thing, you know. Because even though I had like 6-7 different lectures, you know, he could see what would happen like during the 8th and 9th and 10th lesson because of that. You know, he like, even though he figured it out, it's impressive because how fast he did it without me telling him, you know.
Yeah, it's more like you have done certain things and then you could like extrapolate it like in the future and see exactly. This is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is what Kristoffer is going to teach us
in
3 months.
Yeah, and sometimes he was even bored because he already knew what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Like when you have these really gifted children, you know, they need stimulation.
Yeah, so stimulating him is really hard sometimes, but it's also fun when I'm able to get on way more levels beyond him and question his acting or the more foundational spiritual sides, you know, of empathy back and forth because he's struggling with empathy and apathy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's almost like a balance between he's very empathic some days and then it's just apathy, and then he doesn't find.
He's very empathic some days, like
Yeah.
and then he gets apathy, like
Yeah.
he just don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Because it's exhausting maybe to be too empathic.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy.
Like it drains you if you because you give a lot, and if you're not get anything back, so you will be drained. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, interesting. And how does this empathy express itself? Is it like he's very kind and listening, and what is it?
I think empathy does not mean that a person has to be kind all the time. Empathy can be the difference. You can be really angry with someone, but still you can have the energy zone of being empathic in that moment, but you can be really pissed at someone for, let's say, the attitude or something else, But the energy, you have still been there as an empathic person and really understood the other person, like on an emotional and mental level.
That's the core.
Yeah.
You understand the feelings of someone else.
And you feel them yourself.
Right.
As well. But even that doesn't mean that you have to be kind towards the other person.
No,
he's really the opposite sometimes. He can be really sort of like sometimes I want to give him that spiritual bitch slap,
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, but in everyday language, when you say empathy, I think it's easy to think that someone is kind when they say empathic, like it's synonymous. But you're right, it isn't, and it's more like you can understand the other person's feelings, and
and you can see and feel everything so very deeply.
Right, you feel it yourself.
Yeah.
Actually, as well.
Yeah. So it's like even though like as you look into the distance, almost like realizing something, I can like feel what is being realized and analyzed within you, like as an example. So it's really on a mental connection there, and then you have the emotional connection of more depressed, like let's say memories and everything like that. And empathic people like truly feel that, from other people.
I find it hard to get a grip on this concept. I guess it's not a strong side of mine.
No, exactly. But the thing is, like, empathic people are there, we're very few, I feel, but empathy is not the strongest side, of course, from INTJ's perspectives, I feel, but I think it's more you guys have that sort of awesome understanding on a mental connection instead, so you're like learning about those things. And still you feel it, on some sort of level there, so it's there,
Yeah, it sure is, but it's hard to picture what it's like for a person who's very empathic, and because it seems a bit like it's a problem, right? Because the world is getting into your space too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it can be a problem as well, having too sad, empathic people, because it can create like bad loops,
Yeah. So
if you don't have a giver and you only have two receivers, it's gonna be draining.
Yeah. This is also interesting with like I read about relationships in our modern world. Like usually, like when women were at home traditionally with the kids, and the men were working, then it was like, if you compare that with now you both are working and both come home and they both need to be a receiver, right? Because they have given so much during the day, right? And none of them want to give because they're too tired. And And then traditionally, I was thinking maybe the woman was more the giver. But then again, I think like being home with kids and taking care of the household is a lot of work, you know. So I don't know. Maybe it was the same back then. But yeah, it's a problem in a relationship, I suppose. Like both want to get a massage and having a good time, relaxing, and it's not working. But it would work if one of the people are like rested and have a lot of extra to give to the other one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Then it's a beautiful thing to give a massage to someone. Like
yeah,
you get as much as you give. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like relationship-wise, I think people are forgetting about the magnetic fields of both empathy and deeper understandings because they're too locked up inside of their own ego or their own needs. The thing is, a person that is controlling or having a sort of mastering of their own needs is a really wise person. I would say that is like deep wisdom fathers and mothers because they can put their own needs aside in order to give or help someone else. That is something that I really respect and looked up to. Yeah.
And they would then they have to also know what they need. They need to define what they need, and then they can say, okay, I can give that up, or I can maybe reserve that for later to be able to give.
But some people just do it. They put it aside, you know, and they go out there and help, and they come back to themselves afterwards, you know.
Yeah. There is a risk though, like some people they give too much of themselves and neglect themselves. So
exactly.
So it's sort of a balance.
Yeah, that is a thing that usually happens with empathic people as well, because we drain ourselves, and we go out and help people, which is also draining.
Yeah, it is.
And then
right?
we come back to some sort of like zero energy, and then it's so hard to recharge that, you know.
Yeah, so I don't know how to balance that out, but somehow you also get a lot from giving also. Like I've been thinking sometimes I should start working with some sort of charity, or like, you know, like give people to the food to the poor or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a very rewarding thing to do. It's, both for yourself and obviously for the people
That's
who are starving.
Yeah, that's something that that's going to give you a lot more spiritual energy as well. Recharging that spiritual side as well of the giving.
Sure.
Giving and you should receive. You know, it's something that it's a universal energy that happens.
Yeah, it's true wisdom. Yeah, it's and I feel also when I go to Göteborg, to the big city, and
Gothenburg. Yeah,
to Gothenburg. Yeah, we have a lot of people begging now, and I don't give them anything because I don't have so much money, and secondly I feel if you give, then there will be a lot of more people coming also.
Yeah, it's like I could be the one sitting there, you know.
Yeah, it's true, and
It's
my point is that I feel like not giving to them and turning them away, it has a cost for me personally as well.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel good about it.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Not doing something is also a cost in life.
Sure, it is. Yeah. And so I want to give, but then it has to be in more like a set up structure. I feel like, some churches they have soup kitchens.
Yeah.
So people line up and you can volunteer work and give people soup and whatnot.
Yeah.
That would be good, I think. Do you give money to beggars?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. I do it because like I feel like I try to neglect as much as negative energy and negative shit talk about beggars as that goes around these days, and I'm talking about like Sweden and politically the right side of both fascism and those sides is quite nasty when it comes to like empathy. You know, it's not that it's not the empathic side of politics, I would say.
Probably not now. The
Far,
conservative right.
Far from it. So
yeah, but that's another aspect. You know, for me, maybe I don't give, but I'm always like respectful and nice. I try to be at least. You know.
Yeah.
And if they say hello, you know, I say hello.
Yeah.
It's like that is also worth something. I think. Like.
Yeah.
I can imagine if you're begging for your survival and people also give you a lot of negative energy.
Yeah, but imagine like slowly starving to death and someone just walks by and say hello. Like,
yeah, that's also sort of.
I don't give a shit about you, but hello, have a nice day. You know, dying slowly.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's true. It's
it's like I usually see these fat people passing a starving kid on the street, you know, and just eating on this fat McDonald's burger and just passing, like, listening to, you know, podcasts or listening to whatever their beautiful side of life is, you know, their own illusion, you know, of life.
Sure. No, it's also our society is giving up cash, you know, so it's getting more and more like you have to prepare. Maybe if you want to give to beggars, right? I mean, do you have like coins in your pocket, or do you take out your wallet and like?
Some cool thing is I usually give when I return cans, you know.
Yes, sure.
We have this like returning station for
recycling.
Recycling, yeah.
Recycle can.
And you get actually a lot of money from recycling aluminum cans and stuff in Sweden. And I've been saving up sometimes like a lot of stuff, and I get like quite a lot of money, you know, and I just give that receipt to her.
Ah, that's nice. Yeah.
And that way it's not money per se, it's not cash, but it's like worth quite a lot. And then I see her.
Yeah, well, they get cash if they cash it in, basically.
Yeah, they do it. And sometimes I see the guys and girls like they, of course, really happy, and then I see them sitting there with like chicken curry baguette and some tea, you know, and like it's great to sharing that happiness. And sometimes I sit next to them and talk for 5-10 minutes, you know, and I see all these like usual people like going into the grocery store, and they like look really awkwardly at me like, oh my god, he sits there and talking with that thing over there. Oh my god. Ew. Like with disgust almost. Like, it's so weird because like in my eyes it's people are people, you know.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm the kind of person who just sits down with someone and talk, you know, openly, you know.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And people like really look down on me for being sometimes like too kind, or see my kindness as weakness, you know.
Yeah.
That's the biggest mistake they do, you know. That's the first mistake they do.
I think it also has to do with maybe that they feel on a subconscious level, they feel sort of bad that they don't respect this person, and they see someone like you doing it, and it's the shadow, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
They hate you for being what they don't dare to express themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's something.
Yeah. They're so fed up with their own families, their own sort of small created world, you know, their own circle, you know. Instead of spreading that circle, they have like locked the water. It's like having, let's say, a bowl of water, and your destiny is to share, you know, the rings on the water. But they just put down a solid block of cylinder and just locks and takes up a percentage of the water.
Sure, it's.
They just take that. yes, that's fine.
This is where I stop caring.
Yeah,
Sort of.
stop caring, stop giving, and sometimes even like in their case, like stop receiving as well. I don't want your I don't want your shit. I don't need your shit. You know.
Yeah.
They can't take anything more because they're locked. Energy wise, they're locked, and everything is basically blocked off.
Like, yeah. If you can't give, you can't receive.
Yeah.
So it's nice in India. They have this god called what's it now? Ganesha. Well, anyway, it's a cow basically.
Yeah, but elephant.
Ganesha is an elephant.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, never mind. This Indian god, it stands for abundance, sort of. So if you worship this god, you would give, and then included in this idea is if you give, then you shall receive, sort of. So
exactly.
It's sort of a stream. You can't stop it with, as you said, with these walls. You have to.
Yeah.
You won't get rich if you don't give, sort of.
Yeah. the thing is, what happens here in this like philosophy with the water bowl and everything like that is that if you lock the water, soon the water will be
sinking.
You know, because you're drinking it, right? Yeah, of course you need water to survive. But what happens is that that mindset, the ego mindset, is basically a faltering code almost. If we talk programming here, because it depletes, but it has given itself the inability to recharge.
Yes.
Because of the choice.
Sure. Yeah.
So what happens is that if you have this ego woman like ew, like don't care about other people or just think about the self, you know. That is what truly will happen as well. The self will die, obviously alone in a dark corner somewhere, you know, because like spiritually and metaphorically speaking, so because it won't receive, and it has given itself the inability to care.
Yeah.
It's really a hard thing, because if you get down to the levels of not caring, the person will vibe in so low frequency that it has given it inability to reach higher levels, you know. So
I think that's let's say we call it generosity, right? It's it's the quality we're discussing.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's important. I mean, when I listen to you now, I realize how important it is, and it's a difficult thing, at least for me, I think, because it's so easy to overthink it. Like, okay, let's decide that I'm going to start giving money to beggars, and how much should I give? And if I give to everyone, then I won't have anything myself. And how practically do I do it? And will people sort of look down on me if I give money to this beggar?
Yeah. Okay.
You see, there's a lot of things.
It's interesting, because now we go back to the bowl and everything like that.
Yeah. Well.
Now I've been talking about the takers, you know. The worst case that happens there, you know. But with the worst case scenario of a giver as well, is that you have a certain amount of water, but if you start giving it out, you know, you're emptying your can, you know.
Yeah.
As well. So it's some sort of a balance there, but you're the person that decides, obviously, you know.
Yeah, how much to give.
Yeah.
And
am I the person that gives all my water, kills myself, and drain my blood and purify my blood into water and give that to?
Yeah. I mean, because it's you have to respect yourself and your needs, sort of.
Yeah.
And so you have actually to think about it.
Yeah.
You need to plan. You can't just give it away.
I think relationship-wise, I'm after like I've always searched for like a woman in life who does not always put her own needs first at all times, you know. Someone who understands that balance of like, okay, I can put my things aside and give, you know, for a while, like, and understand the dynamic and harmony between things, you know, that deep knowledge and wisdom. both nerdy, gaming ish, but also that awesome harmony of receiving and giving as well. Esoteric knowledge as well. Perhaps a witch, shaman, perhaps. Perhaps some sort of looking into the future, a prophecy woman of some sort. Yeah.
So someone who's good at communicating, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And someone that is also grounded in the emotions as well. Because I can go off in a more high wire thing, and I think I need the opposite,
Yeah.
in a relationship to
Stable.
stabilize me. Yeah, more likely. And just it's okay. Okay, I understand. They can take in all that turbulence or chaos and transmute it, into something more calm, So, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's your future girl.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't know why I jumped into that, but okay. But as you were talking about, if you give too much,
yeah,
it's not good either for you.
In the relationship,
yeah.
It's connected to that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So, I think that I turned really mad quite fast. As you hate skeptics, I really turned to hate people who always put themselves first and walk over dead corpses, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just don't care at all. It's yeah.
That's a trigger for you, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. Skeptics and those not caring people, that does not care to hurt someone,
So I think in societies that are very highly evolved spiritually, probably there's these kind of things, problems with poor people, and they have to beg and have a sort of generosity of the society.
Yeah.
I suppose it would be more, it would be higher, it would be more pronounced,
yeah.
It's like a sign of a great civilization how they treat the weakest in the society.
Exactly.
Someone said.
Yeah. Let's take, as you mentioned now, but we jump into the knowledge, the ancient wisdom of the wolf pack. The wolf pack is structured in very sophisticated ways. They have the weakest and the old and the children first. Oh my god, why do they put the children as defensive walls? No.
Like first in the line when they're...
Yeah. It's not as a matter of fact a defense at all. It's a meaning for the old ones and the hurt ones to set the pace of the pack.
All right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And then behind those you have the strongest, the elite, so to speak, the elite guards.
Right. Yeah.
Because they can be there in an instant to protect. And then you have another pack of children and younger ones as well to protect, and mothers, the ones carrying children in the middle. On the sides you have the scouts and runners to protect at all times.
Right.
And the furthest back you also have elite guards of packs, and all these are running as round to protect, and always taking care of the children, and asking about the pace, and everything like that. So if the children and mothers or the hurt or the elder one stops, the whole pack stops, because they set the pace.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I didn't know that. Right. So, and there is also alpha, female and male, I think.
I've actually broken that belief personally. I don't see alpha and omega or submissive or dominant today.
In the wolf society, or anywhere?
Anywhere, yeah.
That's interesting.
Everyone has those sides, to a certain extent.
Yeah, so there's not a fixed leaders sort of.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. You can act to you can have the outward face as a true dominant and just take and do whatever you want and not caring, you know. But behind that fence, it's a very fragile being. You know.
Yeah,
So,
with humans especially, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if you're an animal like a wolf,
Yeah.
you also have a lot of responsibility. Maybe if you're the top dog, basically.
Yeah. Or like in this case, like having the elites, or most trained like guards, you know. They do not practice or like misuse their power, you know. They're there to care for the children and the mothers, you know.
Yeah, the group is the most important
Yeah,
thing.
and those wolves are the ones that are suicidal even in protecting the pack. Because they can even, like, a couple of wolves can sacrifice themselves in order to take down a huge grizzly bear, for instance.
Yeah.
So it's like one of the dogs can jump into the mouth of a grizzly bear first and take the biggest hit, you know.
Yeah.
And then he knows that some of his buddies will come and assist, you know, because there are more of them, of course. But it's a very self-sacrificing and really caring society of having that knowledge and wisdom of the wolves. Even it's really interesting how it works. And I looked into ravens as well, how that works as well. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Are they social animals as well?
Very, very social. Yeah.
Because often you just see one or two, maybe. Huh?
Yeah. Many people feel like they are very monogamous, or what do you say?
Yeah, when they just have a couple of two.
Yeah.
So, but you're saying that they have bigger groups as well?
Yeah, it's more connection wise. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Maybe in this case it's more of a structured, strict way. I feel, but it's very much more of a small cluster of society of having close people and close people at range. Because they communicate so wisely between longer distances.
Yeah, with their call.
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
hear it a long way.
Yeah. So yeah, and because they're birds, connection-wise, the birdway is not far. So
yeah, they can fly easily.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole other level of thinking.
But you don't see them. Yeah, but you don't see them like the what you call it in English. I'm not sure, but kajor we say in Sweden, right?
Yeah.
It's another sort of crow bird.
Yeah.
They live in big packs all the time, right?
Yeah, that's a huge cluster.
Yeah, they can be enormous.
Yeah. The ravens does not have the need for having those kind of clusters, you know.
No, they're more like they have a community spread out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're very interesting birds. These ones, the ravens.
Yeah.
There must be some reason, you know, that in Norse mythology the highest god Odin has a raven, right?
2.
He has 2 even, yeah.
Yeah. So you have Hugin and Mumin, and those 2 ravens means different things. Metaphorically, they have different meaning.
And they sort of gives him the knowledge, right? They whisper in his ears.
Yeah, exactly. And what his one eye can't perceive, the raven can see.
Right, yeah,
because he only has one eye.
Yeah, he sacrificed one eye in the well or something like that.
Yeah. Because truly, in many cultures, they say that you see more with your eyes closed. And that means that Odin sacrificed his left eye for the wisdom and knowledge and everything like that. And you know how the brain is wired and connected? You know, the right eye is the left side of the brain.
Yeah, I heard about
right
that.
side. Yeah. So he sacrificed the creative eye in order to see more. with
So
that.
his creative eye, that would mean his creative brain would be stronger, is it? Or-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he heightened that sense, and he heightened the spiritual side. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And Hugin and Mumin is described as being the one the more materialistic side and one more of the spiritual side as well.
So that's the meaning of the two birds.
Yeah, whispering in his ears back and forth, like yeah. So, and the balance of all things as well.
Yeah, I mean the world is duality
Yeah.
from top to bottom, right?
Yeah, yeah. But in his heart or in his wisdom, he goes with that eye, you know, the eye that isn't seen, you know, the sacrificed eye, you know.
Well, yeah, it's to say what's more important, right? It's a prioritization,
Yeah.
basically.
And by looking at the sacrificial eye, we all know that he goes with the creative side, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not the materialistic side.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
And some even say that he chose to hide that side, you know, or even like it's the sort of in shadow. But for the intuitives, we are the ones that see that particularly thing that isn't seen. You
right.
know?
Yeah.
And what is meant by the knowledge of seeing more without actually seeing is that people that really closes their eyes and focus on their third eye instead sees way more. That is when clairvoyance come into the picture.
Yeah.
As well.
Third eye and the part of the brain. What's it called now? There's some sort of gland.
Yeah, the amygdala.
Yeah, I suppose that's right. Yeah.
The frontal lobe.
Yeah.
Of the brain.
I have some experiences of focusing on this area, and it's very interesting. Like I get more intuitive insights into all social things.
Yeah, exactly.
It really works. I mean.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then you have the Egyptian eye as well, which is also created after the structure of the brain and how the amygdala is.
Yeah, they look very similar, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So supposedly the Egyptians had knowledge of these things.
Yeah, foreseeing things, using that sort of power and focusing that energy, one must kill the different senses in the body. So, for instance, the vision.
Yeah.
For instance, the taste. For instance, the hearing.
If you have to shut down one of the senses.
Yeah, you have to practice to silence yourself perfectly and silence the mind, silence the heart, silence the senses even. That is why some people like get sleep paralysis when practicing astral projections, for instance, and because some people manage to lock down their muscle sensitivity even to heighten up, you know.
Yeah, I read about there was some village, maybe it was in India actually, the whole village just lay on the ground like dead, and because they practiced some sort of astral flying, or they were off in some other plane of reality.
I read about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, yeah, it's really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it's something that it's working, yes, but it takes ages of practice. Ages of practice. And some people that are, let's say, lucky or get it sometimes, it's a more of an awakening call.
Yeah, and I think also like reincarnation would play a role, because I read about Indian saints who, there was this one called Ramana Maharshi, and he just lay down when he was very young in his uncle's house and like visualized that he was dead, and then he just got enlightened, sort of.
Yeah.
And the rest of his life he was a saint, a total saint. Like.
Yeah.
So for some people it comes very easily because they have done the work in previous lives, maybe, if you see it that way.
Yeah.
I think there's something to that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And but one of the foundation things to practice those things yourselves is basically locking down senses in the body.
How would you do that, for example?
I cannot say, but how do I do?
I think I know what you mean, but
It's like having the foundational core principle thought or feeling of silence and emptiness, nothing at all. And what strikes fear in you or gets you paranoid, even, you have to shut down that as well. You can't be afraid of anyone close to you. You can't be even worried or even thinking about what is he or she thinking now. It's something that has to be cut off also, and just be at peace with whatever is moving around you. So if you're in Gothenburg, for instance, you can practice this even though someone is pushing you or is there physically making you really, really uncomfortable, because I know it's some sort of foundational thing for you. You need that comfort, That is the highest practice, or the hardest thing for you to do, is to be able to even shut down that sort of sensational feeling, and just be at peace with it, and then silent. And then after a while, when you have practiced that silence, you stop hearing things.
You
stop seeing things, and not the egoistical thing of tunnel vision,
No.
Tunnel vision, or like, I have to get out of here.
It's more peaceful.
Yeah, peaceful. Close down your eyes, almost like a good rest sleep, a very sort of drowsy state, I would say. Mushroomy, dancey state, and in perfect harmony.
Sure.
With, as you said, the CBD effect of cannabis.
Yeah.
Gave you what's it called? It's a
like
homeostasis. Homeostasis.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to find a homeostasis for your mind and heart and your senses, even.
Right.
Even though it's impossible sometimes. And those people that make it possible is the ones that get into that sort of wisdom and state and visualizing all these things. It's I think it's a really hard practice for someone that isn't like that heightened or spiritually connected, but it can be practiced. It can be practiced, and it's easier if you have good, in your case, or INTJs that is curious to practice this from an ENFP perspective, would be to find your core of safety, where you actually feel safe, and boost your weakness. Because the weakened state of having an uncomfortable bed or uncomfortable seating can really rub the way you think and feel or decide how to do things, even, which is really a core thing here. So if you're missing something in your surroundings, you can fail,
Yeah.
Which is really a great thing if you manage to find a good surrounding,
Yeah.
So
you're saying that it's good to, even though it's comfortable, you have to transcend that.
Yeah, transcend that and boost your weakness.
What do you mean boost your weakness?
Boost, make it safe, make it good, make the weakness have their needs met, so to speak.
So that will be to get a better bed. Huh?
Perhaps perhaps better bed, perhaps like all these, like, close down the lights and don't have too much blue light, screen light, that is.
So boosting your weakness, that is like you should make sure that you feel comfortable, basically.
Yeah.
That's what you
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. From an INTJ perspective, feel safe.
And not expose yourself to stuff that you don't feel good about.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's time for a short break, I think.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome back to this
Rastafari session.
this session of Intuitively Speaking. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That'd be good choice, man. All right.
So where were we? We were talking about some sort of spiritual stuff.
Some spiritual stuff, yes.
Yes.
Yes, of course, my dear friend. We are actually talking about the magicians of the gods and the fingerprints of the gods. And we have also talked about chaos, disorder, apocalyptical stuff. And now the kids arrive soon.
Yes, so they're
Yes.
coming our way, I think.
Yeah, we have some kids here that plays Minecraft. Yeah.
But now they've been thrown out to be in the real world, sort of.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do we have some more? Yeah, no. Maybe next time. So, what do you feel like we're going to talk about now?
I had one idea about, well, if we should connect with this the survival thing we
Yeah.
talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I'm thinking sometimes about how difficult it would be to survive in nature now because our nature is so destroyed, and like if we look around where we're sitting now, there are only big fields and not very much animals or medicinal plants or plants you can use for different things. So I wonder how it would work, you know.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be much more of a struggle, I feel. But the smart people, I think, will look up some sort of water sources and look around the areas of some sort of a good growth, basically. And what I feel is that is actually going during post-apocalyptical happenings. I think there will be a lot of guards around nature reserves, and it's going to be tricky to be able to get into nature reserves. So we might have to kill off a few guards and slay them, and then we take all their stuff, basically, and then we occupy the nature reserves, basically. Yeah.
The resources, you could call it also.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be very expensive resources around nature reserves because it's very much more dynamical nature in those reserves. And
Like,
we have many reserves around here, actually.
You mean like areas of forest, for example, that the state has set aside for protection, sort of.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because these areas are more high in biodiversity and
biodiversity, more medicinal plants, more rare plants, and also more rare growth overall. Yeah. Yeah.
Like we have the mountains here, Hallen, Hunneberg.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. More diverse animal life as well.
Yeah, I suppose it's not bad, but still it's big areas of the mountains here. They are sort of this pine plantation, or
Yeah.
what is it, pine? The gran?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Or Christmas tree.
a lot of Christmas trees. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, and I'm thinking a lot about fishing, actually. I think that's a really easy source of protein and other goodies.
Yeah. But do you think we have the possibility of fishing around here during hard times?
Yeah, there's the big lake nearby where we're sitting now, at least.
Yeah.
And if you have a boat or a canoe and a fishing net, then you're all set, I think. Then that's the most efficient way to catch fish.
Yeah. or catch food in a fast manner or automatically almost. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sports fishing with a
Yeah.
fishing rod, then you
It's
never,
gonna be
never
bad.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
You could be very hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
It's much more better to get some sort of a net. Maybe get a fishing net in my bag.
Yeah, I
and
think so.
some hooks or even some sort of good catch or trap buildings, small traps and stuff. Oh yeah, I will add some more hemp rope as well.
Mm-hmm.
Rope is good.
Yeah, and you can catch land animals as well with traps. You can build some sort of snares. Or what
Yeah,
they call
exactly.
them,
Yeah.
But that takes a lot of practice, I guess.
Yeah.
Like putting out a fishing net, it's not so hard. It's quite easy.
My father was a really good trapper, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And many summit people today, they still know how to trap animals.
Yeah. Trapping a passive income, so to speak.
Yeah. I've seen a nature show where they built a contraption to catch squirrels, I think it was.
Yeah. Was it in Lost Alaskans or
something else?
Wildlife?
No, not that.
Canadian sites or?
I think it's this British guy who's going around the world doing survival, but I don't remember his name.
Oh, Bear Grylls? You mean?
No.
No,
This is a
no
more
Bear
serious guy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
He died, didn't he? This Bear Grylls.
No. Not the. I think you were talking about the Australian. Oh, a wild crocodile.
Yeah, he got killed by a stingray
Yeah,
through the heart,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. And I'm very ashamed now because I don't remember his name. Is one of my role models in life. Actually, I love that guy. He had so much, life force and energy.
Yeah, very positive.
Yeah, very positive. What's his name?
Yeah, it will pop up.
Damn. Yeah, it will pop up. I have it like on the tip of my tongue here. Yeah. Anyway.
The show I was referring to, I think it's called Extreme Survival, or could it be? Well, anyway, it's this British guy, and it's very serious. He takes it seriously, and he's been like living by himself in nature a lot.
Yeah.
And he's very much into bushcraft. That's his thing, sort of. He can.
Yeah.
He makes everything himself.
Yeah, I love bushcrafting. Yeah.
And like if he's gonna cook food, he would build a fire, and then he would take down some small trees and make a tripod, and sort of a, what do you call it? He's called a widdy, I think. He takes like a piece of wood and makes a sort of a hanging thing for the kettle or whatever.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. Mm. So that's good things to practice, survival skills.
Yeah. So what locations would you think would be best during harsh times?
Do you mean globally, where you would be?
Yeah, or what would we do here, you and me, for instance, if we would team up during post-apocalypse, for instance, and cooperate? What location would you choose to be best? What would we travel to in case of really bad emergencies?
If we talk about like in Sweden, maybe.
Yeah. Or even close to home here where we live.
Yeah. I spontaneously don't feel very happy with the surroundings here, with these huge fields of monoculture.
Yeah.
But then again, you have the big lake Vänern close by, so that's good at least.
Yeah.
Maybe we're on the mountain, but also close to the lake, I think. So you could go fishing, and there's also the forest with berries and stuff like that.
A combination of mountain people and fishing people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Like initially you would just have to survive and live off the stuff you bought, like what we have in our bags, basically.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you have to start figuring out how to, in the long run, how to survive.
Yeah.
And I mean, growing things also should be good. Yeah, it's like potatoes is quite easy to grow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And chilies, I learned from last summer. I grew chilies. It's so nice.
Yep. Yeah.
So, but maybe not so much nutrients, but still.
Yeah. And having our own kombucha farm.
Yeah, of course. That's a lot of good nutrients.
Yeah. Being able to actually save Scoobies for the future. Yeah.
Yeah, they survive a very long time, I think.
But can you preserve Scoobies?
I think you can dry them. I think you can freeze them also. But I mean, if it's post-apocalypse, you don't have a deep freeze.
Yeah. It would be nice with some sort of a chargeable solar generator where we could charge our phones or have like small mini fridges connected with USB and having some sort of USB hub and a shelter built with the generator and technological stuff.
Then you would have a really advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, solar panels is they would work.
Yeah, to be able to harness that energy, you know.
That's interesting.
And just save that, you know, because that's something that you could have in small package, foldable panels.
Yeah, but you don't get much. I mean, you would get enough for your mobile, I suppose, right?
Yeah, but we would use the solar energy from a raft out in the lake.
Yeah.
During the day, and it would rotate, you know, so we could just rotate the raft
after the sun.
Yeah, exactly. So we could just and then drag, you know, water proof cable and everything like that to charge our generator.
Yeah.
And have it protected with a net or tube, you know, even.
How do you mean?
You can drag a tube over the cord, so you protect it, so it floats.
Oh yeah, the rope you mean?
Yeah, and then you can put a defensive net around it as well, and then you have the cables, or like let's say we have the how we can adjust, you know, with the ropes and everything to align with the cord as well, so it works well to rotate the raft.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think most people. No, I mean, often the scenario of post-apocalypse is like, you know, zombies or some sort of fearful state where everybody's struggling against each other.
Yeah.
And if you talk to, you know, the prepper community, right? There's a lot of Facebook pages and they are almost all the time discussing in terms of like how would you survive and what weapons would you need to fight off the other guys, basically, who's gonna come and steal your stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you know, it could be a beautiful thing post-apocalypse if we work together and and humans can do incredible things if they cooperate.
Yeah.
So I don't think it has to be like that sort of a bleak and desperate world.
Yeah, it's way more the objective, materialistic ego need side, because if they have a mindset of taking, they also have a fear of losing.
Yeah, and the preppers, for instance, they are very much into that state of mind, right? Like.
But it's a general spiritual rule or guidance that if you notice people that are very into taking or grabbing, they have a natural fear of losing.
Mm-hmm. it goes together.
Yeah. And there's also the opposite side. People that are always, fearfully givers are also fearful of losing. But in another context, yeah.
If you're afraid of giving, but you give, but you're afraid of it. Or what did you say?
You're afraid of losing. But let's say you're afraid of losing a person, so you give, or some people try to buy others,
Oh yeah. You try to keep things by people by bribing them.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is also another context of fear of losing,
Yeah, that's true.
So, but that was some really good tips about surviving and some locations around here. But if we would have a post-apocalyptic scenario where everything turns to shit basically, and we have nuclear waste even in our lake, that would be bad.
Yeah, let's say there's a nuclear war and there's fallout. I think they call it, right? Comes
exactly.
from the sky.
Yeah, green rain,
Yeah.
acid rain,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it could be really bad. I'm not sure. I mean, the Earth still is a very big place, and it would dilute anyway. But
think about a nuclear waste storm, even of having like so much fog that you couldn't see, and it's greenish hue, so you can't see anything. And you have a basic nuclear shitstorm in the middle of it, like turning the fog around and like basically suffocating all people.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a lot of radioactivity, everybody would get cancer and die. So it's
instant cancer.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that would happen. In these books, they talk about this the meteor impact that came.
Yeah, but isn't meteors radioactive?
Not sure, but the point was that maybe the meteor, there was some meteors maybe 2 kilometers wide, and made of stone or metal, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And they smash into Earth, like they come so fast, so it's hard to even imagine.
Yeah.
And the explosive force of these asteroids, it would. If you take all the all the nukes we have today in the world and blow them up all at once, it still wouldn't, just a small bit of that energy coming from this impact.
Oh wow!
So
it will be some sort of a monstrous seismic impact of a meteor.
Yeah, the impact is so powerful, So
it depends on the scale of the meteor as well, of course.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, but 2 kilometers meteor, it's still not a really big one.
Yeah.
But
2 kilometers, how much would that damage Earth?
They think that's the size of the impact 10,000 years ago, or where it was maybe 12,800 years ago. I think.
So a 2 kilometers meteor, would that smash out Sweden, or would that, like, how big of a disaster would that be? I'm not sure.
They think that this meteor is smashed in the North America, and it had an ice cap. It was during the ice age, basically. So it hit the ice cap and melted a lot of water.
Oh, okay.
And so there were a lot of floods all over the country, like flushing away everything. And also they think that all this fresh water going into the ocean, it stopped the what do you call it, the Gulf Stream.
Oh, okay.
So the warm water wasn't going around, and that made it really cold. And there was also a lot of fires, because there was sort of everything burning up, so the sky got all a lot of particles in the air.
Oh yeah.
So it made globally the living conditions really hard, but still some people managed to survive. But it was really a traumatic time, and I think some people, they sort of dug out grottos in the mountains, and they had to find different ways to survive.
Hmm.
So it was 2-kilometer asteroid. It made a total global disaster. Like,
Oh my god. Okay.
and supposedly the people living near the impact, they died instantly.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I was thinking that you need way more, like 40 kilometers meteor to be able to wipe out Earth, or like that. But it doesn't have to be a large meteor in order to make bad things happen to Earth.
No, and if they're small enough, they burn up in the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly.
The air bursts can be, but also can be troublesome. But,
yeah.
Yeah. But there was another one killing the dinosaurs, and I think that one was bigger.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So about nuclear weapons, I think that puts things in perspective, because they are not so as powerful as these meteors.
Yeah. So maybe meteors are even worse then.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe there will be a radioactive fallout from nukes, but
yeah. But I thought
I think they're so big, so it would dilute a lot. Huh?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that would be so bad for the whole Earth. Like,
Yeah. Because things going off in during World War II, like nuclear waste even affected Sweden.
Yeah.
All the way from Japan, like.
Oh really?
Yeah, because people that were born, they had like faults, even, and even Chernobyl even affected it even more.
Yeah, that was impacting Sweden, and like the Sami and the reindeer, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my mother, she picked the nettles and that spring and made soup, and then she read in the papers that that wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
But we survived anyway.
Yeah. Maybe some mutations.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when they blew up Hiroshima and Nagasaki with the atomic bombs, it wasn't a global disaster. It was maybe, as you say, it impacted us a little bit here, but
yeah, it sure did with the weather and all the clouds coming in, but it wasn't as severe as in Japan, of course. But I was really impressed by that monument that was standing in Nagasaki, or was it Hiroshima? It was like a triumph building of what was it? Some sort of epic stone or something like that. It withstood the impact of a nuclear explosion.
Oh, a building that stood still after the blast.
Yeah, it was a monument.
Right.
It survived like perfectly.
Some sort of a church or something like that? Or?
It was some sort of like cool monument.
Right.
Yeah.
A really strong structure.
Yeah, really strong. Yeah. Yep. So, all right. So we have post-apocalyptic things on the agenda. We've talked a little bit about everything and nothing today, but also about bug out bags and survival. If we both are worried, you asked me if I was worried, of having this happening, right now I'm quite calm and secure that it won't happen too soon, but I am a person that is really adaptive, so if it happens, it's like I'm really fast to accept and just go,
Yeah, but you have prepared a little.
Like, yeah, of course.
You'll have your bag.
Yeah, so maybe that's why I feel safe,
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
But are you worried then? Things happen or wind up somehow
Well,
in the world?
Sure, I mean, it doesn't have to be a war. Even like they talk also on the news about like a blackout, the failure of electricity.
Yeah.
And that you need to sustain yourself for 2 weeks or something. And yeah, I mean, like in here where I live now, we don't have a like what do you call it, a stove, where you would get heating from wood.
Yeah.
So if there's no power, we would it would be cold.
Yeah.
During the winter at least.
Yeah.
Which is not so good.
Yeah. But some people just open the stove and put in wood in the stove and use
in the
that
electrical stove.
Yeah. And just use that as a fireplace. Disconnect the electricity and everything like that, and just use that the plate. And they have extra plates there, and then they have ventilation, of course. You know.
Yeah, you have a chimney or something.
Yeah, yeah. Or they put the stove outside in order to just contain the heat, you know, in it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be creative and work with what you got.
Yeah. And some people use big barrels, you know, as well, because they can really punch a heat, you know, if you warm them up with a lot of wood or even coal.
What are they made of, these barrels?
Just usual like oil barrels or
basically metal.
Yeah, metal barrels, and just concentrate heat, and then you put some fences over, and you can have a nice barbecue, or even like sustain warmth for a long time, because they work as a radiator, or what do you say, like warming, and you can place small barrels around your camp even in order to contain a heat signature. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So now, well, if I'm worrying, I think about it sometimes. I mean, if it's talked about every now and then, you know, it gets into your mind.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking about if people are out to get into your mind, you know, with media, and like stir up even more fear and paranoia, you know, in order to buy this, buy that, you know.
Well, it doesn't work that way for me anyway, because I'm not buying more stuff because because of this. But it makes me think, and I think it's. I mean, we are really fragile as a society.
Yeah, and been having like peace for over hundreds of years, you know.
Yeah, that you have that, and also that we are highly technological, and we get everything so easily, and we buy food in the supermarket, you know, many people don't know how to sustain themselves.
Yeah, basically, people here in Sweden are handicapping themselves by just buying all these things, you know, from the supermarket, and we lose the ability to self-sustain.
Sure, I mean, we don't even know how to grow many things. I'm speaking about myself. I'm not so good at growing things, you know, and it's not so easy because there's a lot of animals that want to eat your vegetables.
Yeah.
So what you do about them, and
and even though people like build up fences and protection against animals, you know, the animals still jump over the fences and grab the food anyway.
Yeah, you know, when the slugs and snails are really troublesome, they can just come at night and mess up your things.
Yeah.
And like my mother tried to grow hair last summer, and she got this sorkar. That's some sort of rats or whatever.
Yeah.
They just they just ate up everything from underground.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's not easy, you know. It takes practice, and you have to do it over and over, like to learn. And it's also very site specific. Like it's to grow something here is not the same to grow something in Africa or in India.
Exactly. Yeah. During global warming, I think that we will have, of course, natural change of warmth dynamics in the world. But what is usually growing in India may be capable of growing in Sweden soon enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will be a warm climate here, maybe.
Yeah.
But we never know, you know, it can be really cold as well.
Yep. Yep.
It's such a complex system.
It's always warmth before the cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it would be wiser to move abroad or if it's better to stay here.
I think you should stay in your own location where you feel at home first, safe, and you know your surroundings. You have a higher possibility of survival, of course.
Mm.
However, people that are more adventurous can discover the world more, like in another country, perhaps. They get a new motivation for survival being in another country, you know, the curiosity of living, you know, seeing new things. It can stimulate your mind. So.
But I mean, the tough thing here is the winter, of course. I mean, if you live in the tropics and it's warm all year round, you can live like this. Like the Indians in the Amazonas who are year round just have some cloth over their genitals and they can hunt in the animals. And, So that's a good way.
Yeah. But then you have thousands and thousands of poisonous creatures all around you, and you got to be really careful in the jungle as well.
It takes a lot of knowledge to survive in the jungle, of course.
Yeah. I think you and me would not survive that well in the jungle.
So we do something stupid and...
Maybe like make a newbie mistake and you're out. Game over.
Stung by some scorpion.
Oh, look at this cute. Ouch! Game over.
You eat something that kills you in 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, whoops, what was this? Yeah.
Have you seen Into the Wild, this movie, Into the Wild?
Yeah.
The guy who goes to Alaska, I think.
Yeah.
And in the end of the movie, he eats some berries and then he's done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a bit tragic.
Yeah.
But that illustrates in a way how it's not so easy to just go out and survive, you know.
Yeah, because he looked wrong in the survival book, or
he mixed up with another berry.
Yeah, mixed up two different things. Yeah.
And also he managed to kill an elk, I think. And
bear.
Oh, a bear even.
Yeah.
And then he would prepare the meat, but he was alone, so the flies got to it and they ruined it.
Yeah, it turned really bad. Yeah. But you gotta be fast to dismember the animal and cut it up perfectly in nice slices and everything like that, and then hurry and have your own smoke room or dryer room. That's like the best thing.
Yeah. I think he was trying to do that, but
he went with the old-fashioned Stone Age way of preserving it underground.
Right.
And he failed miserably because it was too warm.
Yeah. And by himself and never done it before. It's you have to practice these things.
Oh yeah. I have practiced like smoking, you know.
Smoking meat.
Smoking huts and stuff. We have it up north, you know.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Yeah. You can add like bark and you add some different kinds of woods and scents, you know, to it and get different flavors, you know.
Right. So you put these strings of meat and you smoke them.
Yeah. And you have different levels of drying, different thickness of the meat, you know. And you have hyllor in Swedish.
Shelves.
Shelves, yeah. To put it on around, and then you have the fire in the middle, and it should be distributed quite evenly with the warmth as well. And then you have like a little chimney, and it works perfectly. or like a small one of 4x4 meter almost.
Yeah, I've
Um,
seen this on TV sometimes.
Yeah.
They have this TV show where there's the really good chef who's the Sami, and the program is about food in the north. So.
Oh, cool! I didn't know about that.
No.
That's cool. Yeah, but drying, having like this classic beef jerky and even fish jerky, you know, elk jerky,
And
deer jerky, bird jerky.
Yeah.
Like everything like that, you can smoke everything. Is perfect, and if you manage to smoke and really, really dry with some good scents and good flavors as well, you can save that for ages. You know.
Like mammals, red meat, it would be sort of tough, right? You have to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, loads of protein though, and loads of good fast food, basically.
And but fish would be more not so tough, right?
It's more smoother. Yeah.
Yeah. And the bird, or maybe also.
Yeah. In between. Yeah.
Yeah, because as I'm allergic to red meat, you know.
Yeah. Exactly.
It would be hard for me to survive.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going for the fish.
Yeah, true. But yeah, smoking is really cool, and as a vegan, I really am curious to, you know, preserve the green side of life, you know, or even being able to achieve that smoked tofu or smoked, you know, smoked vegetables is good as well, like deep fried, smoked as well.
But are they also dried?
Yeah, you can dry carrots and stuff like that. It's really good as well. They turn really sweet when dried, actually.
Yeah, I guess like chips.
Yeah, exactly. It's really good. I tried that with my dryer as well.
Oh yeah.
Making long carrot strips. Whew, that's so good with some sea salt and pepper and just. It's yummy in my tummy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's some sort of chips, basically. Huh?
Yeah, and I make my some dried fruits as well. Dried apricots is wow.
You buy them fresh and dry them.
Super good. Yeah. Dry my own chili and what's more, dry my own mushrooms, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, your fly agaric.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah, I think one good thing about the post-apocalypse, I think we would be outdoors quite a lot, and we would reconnect with nature in a big way, and we would eat mushrooms, and we would smoke cannabis, and we would be very happy in that sense. There wouldn't be a lot of rules and people telling you what to do. And
would be super good.
Yeah, so and it's a very meaningful thing to survive day by day. You know, you feel you have a purpose in life.
Yeah.
And,
At least having some days of breathing instead of all the must do. You know.
Yeah.
No, we have to pay the bills again.
These kind of bill-paying things that they in itself don't have any meaning for you at all. It's just pointless things.
Yep, true.
So it could be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I have practiced making fire, actually. That's what I've been practicing.
Yeah.
I bought this sort of fire steel, maybe it's called.
Yeah.
Where
Exactly.
you get sparks, right?
Yeah. In Swedish, brynstål.
Yeah, you could call it that, I suppose. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's good because even if it gets wet, you can get sparks, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then
do you have the stick version?
Yeah, it's the stick with a
yeah.
metal piece.
Yeah.
So you have that, and then I learned that if you have birch bark, then it's super good, because if you get this birch bark to burn, it burns for a long time, quite intensely.
Yeah.
And then you just take like small twigs and build up, and
exactly.
bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
and there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really sustainable.
So it's but if you don't have this knowledge, can be really hard to make a fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if it's sort of damp or wet out.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you should always have this birch bark fnösken. Not sure what that's called in English, but little strips of this birch bark. And also have that dry in your bag.
Yeah.
With a plastic bag around, and even another plastic bag around to have it safe and dry. You know, so you can just take it up fast if you need. You know.
Yeah, it's really a good resource, and if you're in a forest, there are a lot of birches probably. So
yeah. If it's dry, that's good, but if it's like pouring down and it's been pouring down for 2 weeks, having that dry bag of it's a savior, you know.
Yeah. Then it's very useful.
Yeah. Then just throw over a tent over yourself, you know, and start making the fire. The person that focuses needs some time alone, you know, focusing on that, of course. And then you have a smoke hut.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Or even a bastu, a sauna.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. We can have our own sauna.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sweat lodge or whatever.
Yeah, that's so good. Sauna is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, been too long now.
Sauna is really, really good for your soul and spirituality, I feel.
Yeah, like especially if it's wood, you fire it with wood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think this is maybe it for today, huh?
Yeah, I feel so.
Something, yeah.
I like today I was a bit tired, you know, because I haven't been able to sleep and such. But I said to myself that we have to keep the podcast going, you know.
Yeah.
It was really worth it, I feel, coming here today because like getting my mind off other things, you know.
Sure.
And I'm a bit behind in the project as well, you know, and because like having some rough days, but lately it's been getting better and better, you know. So I'm trying to focus my time on playing some games with friends and just balancing things out, basically.
Yeah.
Away from the stress, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's important to
Yeah.
take a step back sometimes and.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a good step actually coming here to have the podcast as well and just go haywire and talk about different topics and stuff. It's great.
Yeah, it's great. We could do this today.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't get so much sleep, I think you've been doing very well.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Cheers.
Yeah.
So should we say so for today then? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And thanks to all the listeners, by the way, on YouTube. And thanks to you guys. And just feel free to comment or send me and Johan some mail or messages for perhaps new topics that you would like us to talk about, perhaps, and tips us about new things. And we'll take those things into consideration if it comes to intuitively speaking things, so to speak. Yeah. And we will make sure to maybe put our mails into some sort of a intuitively speaking mail address or something in the future where you can connect with us, perhaps.
Could be good, yeah.
Or make our own group on Facebook, perhaps, or even like community, something like that. So cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Yep. Bye.
All the best. Bye-bye.